Hi, this is Graham Bell with Real Intent. I'm speaking with Chris Morrison, Chief Architect at Real Intent. Hi, Chris.
How are you?
Good. Today we were talking off camera about the Ascent IIV product. IIV stands for Implied Intent Verification. What is Implied Intent Verification?
I would say it is the automatic checking of the RTL for the intent that you put in the RTL. You, the designer, put in the RTL. What's implied by the code you wrote.
So this is a little bit different than what people might think of as a lint tool. What does lint do, and how is IIV different?
So lint is looking really at the structure, the syntax of your RTL. You could I'd almost want to say that IIV is looking at the semantics, but that's not quite true either. It's going beyond that. It's looking at what did you intend to do with a particular line of code. Obviously, you expect it to be executed. So if it's not executable, there's no sequence of input values which will ever get you to that. Then that's a problem. Lint can only tell you, well, there is a line and it follows these kind of syntactic rules, so it's okay. Or it didn't, and therefore it's a problem.
So it's certainly a much higher level and more complete kind of check. Does IIV look for things such as dead code or FSM states that can't be reached?
Yes. And again, lint can detect those things, but lint is looking at this as simply constant propagation or something that's very easy to determine. Even the synthesis tool does more than lint. But implied intent is now using the full formal verification. We'll do a sequential analysis, something the synthesis tools can't do. So we'll look through and say, oh, there is no possible sequence of input values which will ever cause this block of code to be entered, and so therefore it's dead.
Now, there's a lot of freedom in the Verilog language. Is a tool like IIV really helpful for people and really sort of looking for kinds of bugs they didn't know they wrote, or functional behaviors that were unintended?
Sure, I think that's, no matter how complex the language, even very, very simple Verilog 95 code, you could have unintentionally written your if-else statements incorrectly, so that one of the else statements is in fact always false, or always true. And there's no way that you would know that by just a cursory inspection.
So in terms of complexity, how would you use IIV? Is it really best used on blocks of RTL code?
Formal tools have a limit on how much they can handle. And with implied intent, we automatically generate checks based upon the RTL structure. So the more RTL you have, the more checks we have. So there's kind of a quadratic limit that we reach. And if within a few 100,000 gates, that's probably all we can do. Because at a few 100,000, you're going to have a few 100,000 checks, and the time per check gets to be too significant.
When you're talking to customers about the tool and their experience, what are some of the things you've heard back from them?
There's both a positive and a negative. The positive is that there's always a belief that, oh, simulation should have caught this. And then they realize that, no, there's a limitation on simulation. Again, if you don't put the error traps in simulation, if you don't put your test bench isn't adequate, you won't catch the bug. And so the surprise is, oh, we've got the 99% coverage. Our test bench is awesome, and you still caught something. Huh? How did that happen? On the negative side is, geez, your tool takes a long time. This is a small block. I wanted you to run on the 50 million gate design, and your tool took the weekend on this small thing. So that's just the problem with formal technology. That we have a definite size limit, and it's hard for people that are not accustomed to that to deal with that. I can simulate this over the weekend. Why can't I run your tool over the smaller piece in less time?
Interesting. What are some of the other highlights of IIV that you would like to point out?
Value is in things like dead code detection and state reachability, state deadlock. These are what we call the reachability checks. The checks that if there is a sequence, then we can prove that, yes, it is reachable, the state's reachable, the state's not deadlocked, something like that. Then there are other things like range violation, parallel case, violations, full case violations. Those are a different class of checks where if we find a sequence, it's a bad thing. It fails. Those are, I think, fairly valuable to users, particularly the parallel case, full case range violation. Those are not ones that are intuitive. And we often get there's a failure, why? Because people expect it to be working a particular way and don't understand, it's not. So those are usually surprises for customers.
Chris, thanks for speaking with us today.
My pleasure.